right, Cindy. I'm ready. Let's do this thing!
Brett, what are you doing?
I'm focused.
Focused on...
Look, this is a marriage dealie, right?
Yes, this is a marriage dealie.
And unless I'm mistaken, I'm gonna take a few hits, am I right?
Brett.
So like I said, I'm ready! Let's get it on!
This isn't some kind of scrimmage.
Hey. Snap me up.
You don't need pads and a helmet. You're gonna be fine. In fact, I brought everything we need. I have matching pens, monogram stationery.
Oh, did you bring the seat cushions?
Of course.
Rock! Right. We all set?
Honey, you know you can probably loosen the chin strap just for the drive over.
Good call.
How do I look?
Mm-hmm. Let's hit it!
Oh, did you bring the directions?
Don't need them.
Positive energy. Positive energy.
Man will do anything for a woman.
Oh, wow.
This is gonna be smooth as butter.
Don't tell my wife that.
Great partnerships in history.
1, 2, 3, and let's dance.
I expect a husband of mine to be more refined.
The thrill is gone.
I know the feeling.
I was exhausted.
This is marriage. There is no whining in marriage.
Tommy and Susie spent lots of quality time together outside the bedroom.
Your table's ready now. What you see? How did you do that?
Great, thank you.
Seriously, James, what will happen when you're surrounded by 100 of those?
What? For our wedding? Or for your mom's birthday?
Thank you.
My pleasure. So, we need to walk back to the band room and get your stuff, right?
Young man, we call it the rehearsal hall, not the band room.
1,000 pardons, mademoiselle. How could I have been such a lout?
I expect a husband of mine to be more refined.
Well, then you better rethink this wedding thing, baby, because this is all the refinement I got.
I'm not rethinking anything. I can't wait to be Mrs. James Thornton.
Oh.
Which reminds me, I finished writing my vow at lunch today.
Pass it over. Let me read it.
I'll read it to you.
Whoa. Isn't that illegal or something? I mean, I don't want you jinxing our wedding by reading your vows to me.
You ready?
Okay.
James, before God and these witnesses, I pledge my love to you this day. I promise to be your friend and partner in whatever the future holds for us. Today and from this day forward, our two hearts will beat together. I am yours and you are mine, sustained by a powerful love that binds us as one. This is my vow and my pledge.
What, baby, that was nice.
Nice?
Did you find that on vows.com or something? All right, baby, look. It's a good start, okay? I'm still working on mine, too. You know, it just felt like...
A good start? I stayed up half the night working on that for you.
Would there be anything else tonight?
I hope not.
I'll see you in the lobby.
Do you want to get married to a girl?
Yes.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Okay, why?
I don't know. Because I want kids.
I think most people get married because love is a really strong feeling, and marriage is a way to like show that, I guess. A lot of people think it's good. Some people think it's strange. I'd love to feel it.
Are you crazy?
Because I hate boys.
If I were married, I would be big.
They usually care about each other, and they usually smile at each other and hold hands.
I'd like to feel it about someone who makes me happy, who makes me smile, who knows the right things to say, and even if he messes up, he does it in the right way.
The other person likes them, and they like them too.
You'll see one day that they look at each other when my mom's making breakfast and they smile, or they say goodbye when my dad has to go to work, and they just give you this warm feeling when you see them do those little things that make you feel what they're feeling. It makes me feel happy that I'm in a family that loves each other and that my parents love each other, and I'm fortunate. And it makes me feel loved and want to love everyone else.
People get married because they want to spend the rest of their lives with each other.
Marriage nowadays doesn't last a good 2 years.
They say it's for love, but then they divorce like 5 years later.
It's because it's lust and not love.
Some people get married because they think it's gonna fix them.
Why would I personally get married?
These days, for money.
It'd have to be a buku bucks. I don't know. What about you, Mike?
Probably money would be the influence.
I was married 23 years. It was for love. We was both broke, so it wasn't for money, that's for sure.
It's tradition, it's what our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents have done.
It could be done for the wrong reasons, but in my case, I would say it was for the right reason.
People get married because they love each other.
I fell in love with him.
So that I can live with the love of my life and start a family with him, and to show everyone that I love him and I want to spend forever with them.
I think it's biblically driven also.
A sense of a life partner, you know, companionship for life.
I found my best friend and found a woman that will do pretty much anything for me and stand by me no matter what.
We've been married for 33 years, and we're still married right now. We still love each other. We became best of friends, and we became companions, and we also became partners, and we became one.
think when most couples get married, they really don't have any idea of the grandeur of marriage and what God's up to.
Yeah, I think clueless is the operative word for where I was when I first got married. And I mean, the funny thing is I thought I was mature and discovered shortly thereafter that I was far from mature.
The starry-eyed myth that most couples are dealing with is this myth of romanticism, this myth of I found, I usually say it, the one, you know, I found the one. And that the myth says that if you find the right one, you've accomplished it. The reality is that you can't know the one until you get married, and then you know they're the one because you got married. If you start with that mythological idea, then basically you get married and difficulty happens. Well, if the myth says marry the right one and it's going to be clear sailing, I got married and it wasn't clear sailing, guess what? I must have married the wrong one.
We should never enter into marriage with an open door policy or a mindset that, okay, this may not work. We enter into marriage that says that this is my life for the rest of my life, and this car has no reverse. My marriage has to tell the truth about God. And we don't always think about marriage in that light. We think about loving one another, taking them out to dinner, having great vacations, and all that stuff is wonderful. Sexual interaction, all that stuff is really great. But the truth of the matter is the ultimate purpose of a marriage relationship in human history, frankly, is that my marriage is to reflect and to tell the truth about the God we're related to and whose image we bear.
I think it starts with just recognizing that marriage is more than me. It's not something, it's not a device or an apparatus that God has given us that simply services ourself or simply meets our needs, but it exists for a bigger purpose, a more glorious purpose. And that's where we go back to Ephesians 5, and we're told in Ephesians 5 that it is a profound mystery that actually reflects the reality of Christ's love for the church. And so it's being in marriage with the reality that while what takes place in our marriage each and every day is significant, it's important, that there's something far more significant and important going on. There's a statement, there's a testimony, there's a parable that's playing out that reveals something about God. That marriage is embedded in the culture as a gospel testimony that is always making statements. The only question is whether it's a good statement or a bad one.
Apparently there's one way. That is Carrie's way.
I expected to be more patient.
I expected to be able to connect with her all the time.
To be active.
To have the right answer all the time.
Of course, there were things that I wanted.
And I expected to be able to make her laugh all the time.
It would be great if my husband loved to, play soccer and go camping with me.
I enjoy a clean house.
And work out with me.
I like things organized.
Sex almost every week. It's being with your best friend all the time.
That's not always true.
Also, that it would be fun.
And to
get an RV and travel the U.S. I thought it would be a lot of work, which it is.
Because we married forever, but awesome. Yeah.
I always thought of myself as being a very confident, independent person. I didn't realize how vulnerable marriage would make me.
If I do something and I try and it doesn't work out well and she's disappointed or annoyed, that kills me.
Little things would come up and I'd have to check myself and say, why am I feeling this way? Or why do I think he's in the wrong or he's not doing this right? Really, it wasn't any actual issue. It was just my own selfishness.
It all requires work all the time. We don't ever have something, an area of our marriage where we've put the work in, we got it figured out, and we're finished. It's something that we need to really keep working on and keep thinking about, and always making sure that our hearts are in the right place. Because as soon as we stop putting that kind of a work into it, it's gonna fall apart.
Looks like you guys are all ready for the concert, I guess. So, this is where Dr. Kohler stands.
Put the baton down.
Why?
Because no one is supposed to touch...
No one is supposed to touch the conductor's baton. No one except, of course, the conductor. And I don't believe that's you, James.
I'm so sorry, Dr. Kohler. I didn't know there were baton rules.
I told you, James, call me Rob.
Sorry, Rob.
You know Cynthia's always been my favorite. After you two wed, it'll be up to you to keep her well.
Assuming she doesn't kill me first.
Well, don't mind me. Just came to clear up. You carry on.
I have my stuff. Let's go.
Whoa, 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 baby. Wait, hold up. Listen. 3 weeks from this Saturday, you and I will be standing in front of a big crowd of people. I mean, you're used to an audience. I've never done this before. There'll be your family, my dad, his wife, my mom, brothers, sisters, aunts, cousins. You know how we are. Half the orchestra's gonna be there. All coming to see a stunningly beautiful bride and her clumsy, big-headed boyfriend become man and wife. Now, baby, my dad stood in front of a church just like this 35 years ago. And in front of God and everyone, he made a solemn vow to my mom. And he said things like, I promise, and I pledge, and your friend, and your partner, and I'm yours, and you're mine. Whatever the future holds. My vow, my promise. Does this all sound familiar?
But my words...
Wait, baby, listen. Your words were beautiful. They were. But after 10 years, will they have only just been words? Words no better than my dad's? Now, I mean, I'm working on my vows too. But your words, mine, my dad's, they all sound the same.
But my words have meaning. What more?
In music, there is beauty in opposition. We call it dissonance, when notes clash. In a symphony, there is far too much happening at once for it to simply fall into place on its own. Dissonance, you see, is only ever fully appreciated when there is resolve into harmony. Alone, these instruments have beauty. But when they join, there'll either be harmony or their notes will clash. and tragically fall apart. So, how do all the instruments of my repertoire stand together? Because the life beats behind all my instruments know that it's not enough to play from the same sheet of music. No. It needs more. They know they must look to the conductor for their parts to stand resolved with meaning and harmony. For all time, look to the conductor. I bid you both good night.
There's a pattern in creation, all right? 6 days. Let there be, then there was, it was good. Let there be, then there was, it was good. Let there be, then there was, it was good. We get used to that pattern. That pattern happens for 6 days. First time God says something is not good is when he looks at Adam. He says it's not good for man to be alone.
Genesis 2:18 says, "The Lord God said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him."
And I just get this picture of God looking at Adam saying, that old boy ain't gonna make it. Because you know God's a southerner.
And then out of the ground, the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called every living creature, that was its name. Now, that indicates an authority function that Adam had with regard to the animal kingdom, over which God had given him stewardship.
You know, here you have, check it out, Adam's all by himself. He's a dude. He's male. Nothing looks like him. So God gives him this assignment of naming all these animals in the garden, and they come 2 by 2.
And the Bible says whatever name Adam gave it, that was its name. Again, that exercise of dominion.
God has given his image bearer the right to classify these animals. So he names them.
He just rattles off this taxonomy. He's just naming these animals, classifying these animals.
And in our own mind, we can see these animals coming up 2 by 2. You can see the hippopotamus, and then the elephant, and then the cheetah.
There's a he-rabbit and a she-rabbit. There's a he-bear and a she-bear.
There's Mrs. Hippo and Mr. Hippo.
You're going to be a doe, and you're going to be a buck, and you're going to be a hen, and you're going to be a rooster.
And then you see the hyena as he comes. You see the smaller, the dog and the cat as they come.
Maybe you're going to be a zebra, and you're going to be a zebret. I don't know.
Now, I don't know if Adam was as slow as the average male is about some of these things, but I can imagine maybe after about 25 minutes or so, he started thinking, now, wait a minute. You know, there's some significant differences between these two people. The plumbing ain't exactly the same thing.
Adam may have been dense, but after you've named a few million animals and seen them come in pairs, he had to get the point.
There was not found a helper fit for man, so then God caused a deep sleep to fall on Adam and took a rib from his side. And the rib that the Lord God had taken from the man, he made into a woman and brought her to the man.
He sees a figure or something that doesn't look like a chimp. It doesn't look like, he's trying to figure out, well, it doesn't exactly look like me, but what I'm saying, I really love, I really like.
When Adam says this at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh, I think he's recognizing that she was taken out of him, but there's, I think, instinctively a longing for a reunion of that has been separated. And I think that's the early indication of sexual desire.
He doesn't name her Eve. He says she shall be called Isha because she came out of Ish. In other words, he is distinguishing her from the rest of the animals. He says, this is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. And that whole phrase there, that whole statement is Adam saying, this is different than the other stuff that I've named. She's one of me.
He's ecstatic over this gift that God has finally given him. She hasn't done anything. It's just her very presence, and seeing her, he knows that there's something special about her. He knows she is a gift from God, and so he's excited simply to receive the gift.
I played football in college, and the position I played was called wide receiver. It's called wide receiver because it's the position that lines up wide on the outside of the field, away from all the big guys that are doing all the hitting in the middle of the field. Now, as a receiver, that was the guy that ran down the field, and when the quarterback threw him the ball, was expected to receive it. When I decided I wanted to play football, I had an older brother who was an All-American, and he said, Jeff, there's more to it than just catching the ball in your hands. He said, if it was that easy, more of us would be making several $1,000,000 a year doing it. He said, Jeff, as the ball's coming towards you, don't just receive it into your hands, but look it all the way into here. And don't look up until it's here. Now, as a wide receiver, I knew that no matter what I did, I was going to get hit. But there were guys on the field whose jobs was to rip my head off with one goal, to separate me from this ball. And there were situations where I remember I would go up for the ball, and I would look away and not look the ball all the way in, and those guys would nail me. And the ball would end up on the grass somewhere, on the turf. And I remember in those moments, I got up slowly and usually limped my way back to the huddle. But then there were the other moments, and these were the glorious moments, when I would go up for the football. I would see it coming toward me. I would concentrate and see that ball all the way in, and I would not look up until I knew I had it here. And then those guys would hit me. And when I got up off the turf and I had the ball and I had received it, it still hurt. But there was something else going on inside me, where at one level, I felt like I was feeling no pain, because I would jump up from the ground and almost run back to the huddle with a hop in my step. Those were glorious moments, because I'd come down having received the football. I've learned that being a wide receiver is a lot like being a wife receiver. I can't just accept my mate as a gift from God. I must choose to receive her all the way into here. And I'm going to tell you, that's not always easy. There are defensive backs out there trying to keep me from coming down with this ball. There are forces working against my marriage all the time. And quite frankly, sometimes my wife coming toward me looks more like a porcupine than a pigskin. And I don't want to look her all the way into here, and she could say the same things. I've made a lot of mistakes in my marriage, but I'm going to tell you, when I get up from the pile and the ball is in here and I've looked her all the way in, regardless of our circumstances, it feels a whole lot different to me than if I get up and the ball's still laying on the turf.
Receiving your spouse means that you don't merely just accept them and let them be. It means you literally embrace the God-given differences and uniquenesses that He's built into them and given to you as a gift.
There's a moment in which, as my wife is walking down the aisle of that church, not only is there no other woman in the room, there is no one else in the room but her for that moment. As you stop and think, God, thank you for being good to me and giving me a woman like this. An emotion that is prompted consistently ever since.
Easiest day in our marriage. We've been married for many, 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 many years now. The easiest day was the wedding day. I mean, because you made the promises, you made the commitment, and you're all wonderful, and nothing's wrong, and everybody else's problems except us. Everybody would have to. But we have discovered that almost on a daily basis, receiving one another as God's gift is a choice. When there are hard times, when we disagree about things, or when there are financial challenges, or when you have children and they make bad choices and we disagree about how to deal with those choices, or when there's suffering and adversity, or when just all kinds of issues. I want to spend the money this way. She says, no, we don't need to spend it that way. I mean, at that point, I have to make choices. I resolve the conflict, but I got to remember that she's not my enemy, that's God's gift to me.
How could Bill accept me?
I wish we hadn't come back from vacation the day early.
How could I accept myself?
I wish I had not gone to work that morning. You wake up every day hoping it was an awful dream and that it wasn't true. And you wake up the next day hoping it was an awful dream and it wasn't true for months and months and months.
I was just having a great time just playing with the two kids on the bed. We were rolling around in the covers and they were giggling and I was like, oh, Jonathan, you smell so badly and I've got to change your diaper. I just think I'll give you guys a bath. I got Carrie and I put her in, and Jonathan had been sitting up well for a month and he was 7 months old at the time, and so I just played with him in the bathtub, and then I could hear the dogs barking outside. So I went to the front door and I called the dogs and they wouldn't come. In my heart, I knew that I needed to get right back there.
I got an interruption in a meeting at work where a floor supervisor came into my meeting room and said, your wife's called, your son's drowned, you're supposed to go home right away. When you hear something like that, you can't possibly really believe that what you've heard is true. When I got to the driveway, there's the ambulance sitting out front and lights running, and I walk into the front room and our 7-month-old son Jonathan's on the floor with the paramedics working on him and trying to revive him, and Pam praying over in the corner with a friend, and you're having that almost out-of-body experience where you're looking at something you think can't really possibly be true. When we got to the hospital, my best friend was the physician. And I remember him walking into the room and saying to us that we lost him, Jonathan's gone, and taking me over to the side and saying, you know, Bill, when there's a death of a child as a result of the responsibility of one of the spouses, there's probably an 85% chance for a divorce.
It was really hard to be 26 and have something happen like this that you don't expect to happen.
When you first construct what happened, you want to wrench your fists at how could you do this? I had to come to grips with what was that going to be in our marriage. I had to come to grips with, am I going to take that anger and just focus on that anger and focus on the mistake, or am I going to talk about what we have to do going forward as a family and as a couple? As we drove home and as I prayed, we got our 2-year-old, and we sat on a piano bench together, weeping and crying. I held up the Bible and I said, you know, this book is either true or it isn't. If it's true, we know God loves us and He has a wonderful plan for our life. And He's in control. God will not protect us from what He will perfect us through.
That's where Christ makes a difference. Not only in forgiveness and receiving each other, because you know what? I was wrong to leave the bathtub. But we don't live perfect lives. I'm not a perfect person. I think of it as a choice that you can forgive each other and continue to work towards letting God have the freedom and the Holy Spirit to have freedom to work in your life, to make you into the person that He wants you to be. And He uses good things and He uses really, really hard things too.
We have to face these things together and not face off against one another. And so on a day-to-day basis, you make the choice. It's a decision, and it's not easy. But you know, that's what makes it sweet, though. That's what makes marriage wonderful. It's pressing through the adversity, pressing through the difficulties, and receiving each other in spite of the opposition and problems. And I don't like you today. I don't like what you said. I don't like how you acted. I don't like the decisions that you make. But I still choose not to run from you, but to run toward you and to get on our knees and turn toward God. And that's the reality of welcoming and choosing and receiving your mate as a gift from God.
Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. One flesh. Genesis 2:24.
In the Genesis account, when we read "for this reason," the narrative takes a huge break. We've had a creation account, we've had some, this is what happened, and then we have this clause, "for this reason." It's like a yellow flag for the reader or the person hearing the story. So the narrator, in this sense, God through Moses, is making a comment on what has just happened. That is the institution of marriage.
It's interesting that when he brings the woman to the man, there is this phrase, "For this cause shall a man leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife." Now, that can't be a statement just about Adam and Eve, because Adam and Eve don't have mother and father to leave. That has to be a statement about this institution of marriage that has just been created. This has to be a creation ordinance that's about what God is doing, period, not just what God is doing with these two people.
Leave means simply to get out, to leave, to emotionally, physically leave home.
And the concept of leaving means to forsake dependence upon your parents. It's a shift of loyalties from our mom and dad, and a new set of loyalties to say to our spouse, you are going to receive my number one loyalty in all of human relationships on planet Earth.
When you think about how precious and sweet and urgently important, indeed vital and necessary, the relationship is between a parent and a child, how the child cannot even live without that love and support and discipline and protection and nourishment. If there's something more important than that, then we really better pay attention to it. And that gets right to marriage. And so when you think of the order, the command, you'll notice, it's an absolute moral declaration by the Creator. We are to leave and cleave.
And I have to leave any other relationship. I have to reorder all my relationships, my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, my immediate family. And I have to begin to now cleave to this woman that God sent me.
Now, I know that in today's economy, there are extenuating circumstances. Sometimes we have to help our kids, this kind of thing. But I got to tell you, a commitment to be married is a commitment to be independent. And if you're not going to be independent emotionally from your parents, independent financially from your parents, then don't ever get married. More marriages are destroyed because of the failure to leave. And the word cleave there means that relationship is the permanent priority in your life.
Be joined to, be united to, be stuck to, be glued to, is what God is saying. In other words, that bond that we have with our natural family, it's a bond of blood. It's there. It's a bond of 40 weeks in the womb. This new bond, though, is not a bond that is as much a natural bond. So there has to be the act of cleaving, and I think we need to keep that in mind as married folks, that, we just think that cleaving is something that automatically happens because you say words in front of an altar. Cleaving is an activity that we engage in throughout our married life.
And when God commanded us to cleave, He really commanded us to make a lifelong commitment, a covenant to another person that says, I'm with you. I'm going to stick with you till death do us part. It's the kind of love that says, not only do I prefer you, but I am committed to love you for a lifetime.
Hey, he's playing that's the same song from the night you proposed. Did you know? Did you?
His name is Lewis. Project foreman by day, strolling minstrel by night.
Just one more dance, and I'll be on.
Babe, I really brought you here because I just finished the first draft of my vows today, and I thought this would be the perfect setting, the perfect spot where I can read them to you, and you can tell me what you think.
Okay.
Okay? You ready?
Yeah.
All right. You know, we could go get some coffee first, and then I can read this to you, and then... Okay, all right, babe. Here we go. Cynthia, with joy and thanksgiving to God, I take you today as my wife, my lifetime companion, my good gift from God made to complete me and to be my helper for as long as He gives us breath. I promise you that I will love you, cherish you, honor you, care for you, and always be with you in good times and in bad times. When you weep, I will weep with you. When you dance, I will be your partner. I vow to you that my heart, my eyes, my body, my love will be for you for all time from this day forward. I make this covenant vow, asking the one who brought us together to sustain our love and to grant me the grace to be the husband you deserve till death parts us. I don't know, it's just a draft, you know, I mean, work on it a little bit more, you know, I guess.
Can I just say I do right now?
Don't tempt me, woman. That is not nice.
Well, I am ready to say I do and to be your wife.
For all time, right?
For all time. Yeah, for all time, I'm gonna be stuck with a clumsy, big-headed husband.
A tale that stands the test of time, an unending story of love.